Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, a coup is taking place right now in Turkey. The military has claimed control. They said all power belongs to them now. President Erdogan is on the brink. Apparently, he is at a secure location that has been undisclosed. He has taken to the TV there, urging people to take to the streets. But what are they supposed to do? Because the streets are filled with tanks, reportedly some helicopters firing down into the streets, reports of explosions. Parliament is surrounded by tanks. Angry Turks have actually dragged the commander out of a turret and beat him. So are we witnessing the fall of the Islamist government? We don't know, really, because social media access has been restricted there. We're not getting too many updates as people's Twitter accounts and things like that are being suspended there in Turkey. Apparently, the Obama administration has been caught off guard. Some people celebrating
That's what they'd like
this,
us to think.
Yeah.
Well, it's not clear to me, Leanne, whether or not they've been caught off guard, whether or not this, as we're being told with Fox News, that this is going to be a more constitutional, more secular government.
Right.
I don't really believe that. We've seen a power center in Turkey, a competition for power, coming to a head for quite some time between Fethullah Gulen and President Erdogan. And we're going to tell you what happened this week that makes me think that really what's behind this is Fethullah Gulen. And of course, these have been the two power centers, and everything that goes wrong, you could say Erdogan blames on Fethullah Gulen. But I think that it really may be true in this case. Of course, he confirmed, he said that the coup is being done by Fethullah Gulen, by the U.S.-based fugitive. And of course, the issue with this is that he came into the United States as a fugitive from Erdogan several years ago. There were people in the FBI that said they did not want him here. CIA and others wrote letters for him. He stayed at Langley Air Force. Then he established a base in Pennsylvania. There was a lawsuit that was filed earlier this year. Interestingly enough, I reported on that the middle of December. Turkish Imam's U.S. network of schools to be investigated as part of this lawsuit that was coming from the Erdogan government. And within 2 weeks, we were hacked, and there was an article that was put up in my name. I don't do that many articles for Infowars.com. There was an article put up in my name. If you take a look at this article, breaking, coup d'etat in Turkey. Erdogan flees to U.S. airbase, and says that the Erdogan was overthrown as a result of a coup staged by a group of high-ranking military officers. That was a false article that was put up. They hacked our site. They hacked multiple social media accounts of ours at the time. But I guess maybe I'll claim that now and say that I predicted it 7.5 months ago. But it's another indication, I think, of what's going on. Another indication that perhaps there's Gulenists that are involved in this. And of course, Sibel Edmonds has talked about the connection between the CIA and Fethullah Gulen for a long time. She pointed out 6 months ago, she predicted that NATO and CIA were planning a coup against Erdogan. And that apparently may be what is going on now, especially when we look at the fact that they're pushing this as a civil issue. But understand that what happened this week. Earlier in the week, you had a situation where they were arresting people who were teachers, who were police officers, military. And this is something that's been going on for quite some time. There's been multiple coups in the past staged by Gulenists against the Erdogan government. There's also been arrests by people who were part of the Gulen network. They have arrested people part of the Erdogan network. They were held for very long periods of time without trial. And that was possible because there were police and judiciary. They're part of the Gulen movement. And this week, it was on the other side. You had Erdogan arresting teachers and officers. And again, remember that if you're going to try to take over a country, you do it through the education system. That's why I try to tell people. When we look at Bill Ayers and the Students for Democratic Society, what they did 50 years ago, they took over, put out the narrative of white privilege. He stopped blowing up buildings and he went into education. And now what do you see? You see this social justice warriors, white privilege, race war narrative that they were trying to build for the last 50, 60 years working. That's what's been going on in Turkey with Fethullah Gulen people. We need to understand that in the U.S., the Gulen movement has 1,000 schools worldwide. They have 300 schools in Turkey. We got 50 schools in Texas, okay? They get $500 million from the U.S. government. But what happened this last week was not only did they arrest these people, but they have been going through with this indictment, and they have an indictment that was going to charge him with, if they found him guilty, he'd get multiple life sentences. Now, this article from just a couple of days ago, as they were arresting officers and everything, was saying, yes, they've had a lot of these cases, but now this is the chief indictment prepared by these prosecutors. This is the major case, they said, that will pull all of this together. And within 2 hours, this was written a couple of days ago, they said they were going to put this together in an indictment. Within 2 hours of that indictment being served, the coup began.
Wow.
So I think that's really kind of a smoking gun in terms of the timing.
Absolutely. And of course, the Turkish justice minister has come out to say that members of the movement who are loyal to Fethullah Gulen are actually behind this, those who are in the army. So we really don't know. It's a little too early to celebrate. I know some people are saying this is great. The military says they want to return to democracy. They don't want Sharia law and Islam. They want to return to democracy. Of course, other reports that ISIS is going to be celebrating this, saying how democracy is a failure and promising some more chaos. So it's kind of a little...
I think it's going to be, very likely be a civil war. Sources within the European Union say this is not just a couple of colonels that are doing this. This is a major fight between two sides. And I think the two sides are Fethullah Gulen and Erdogan. And we're going to see how this works out. Neither of them are good guys. Neither of them are secularists, okay? It's like pick your poison. Both of them want to set up a worldwide caliphate as an Islamist, but they want to each be the one who's going to be in charge of it, just like they each want to be the ones in charge of Turkey.
Wow, incredible. Well, earlier when this news was first breaking, Alex Jones and Joe Biggs and David Knight as well gave some instant analysis for what's happening there, and we want you to take a look.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com with some breaking news. As you can see right here, Turkey coup underway. Military attempt to seize power from Erdogan as low-flying jets and gunfire heard in Ankara and bridges across Bosphorus and Istanbul closed. So this is an area that's been a hotbed for quite some time. Alex, what do you know about the situation so far?
It's too early to tell right now, but generally the military is seen as more pro-Western and not completely radical Islamic because Istanbul, of course, was formerly Constantinople, or the capital of the Byzantine Empire, what was left of the Roman Holy Empire. And so a lot of them are crypto-Christians, just like in Syria. A lot of the so-called Muslims really are Christians and are actually followers of Christ. So this is one of the less radical countries generally in the Middle East, but it's also the former headquarters of the Ottoman Empire. So it kind of goes back and forth historically. But it's too early to tell. We'll probably know by the nightly news tonight exactly what's going on. But generally, a military coup against Erdogan would be against the more radical Islamic elements that Erdogan has been allied with and has been sending into Syria to attack the population there. Now, of course, the Russians have been bombing the thousands of trucks going in with oil stolen out of Syria and Iraq to Erdogan's son and others. So there's a lot of different groups. There's also some of the other internal organizations that David Knight's about to talk about in a moment that may also be involved in this. But when you see the military openly with fighter jets involved with this, generally it leans towards people trying to get rid of Erdogan because he's been working with the Islamicists, and that would overall be a good thing. But we don't know yet. We also have these big Turkish foundations that are involved in education programs and bizarre behavior here that Erdogan has been going after. They've been swearing to overthrow Erdogan, so that might be it as well. We're only speculating at this point, but clearly a military coup is underway. David Knight, come on over here. We're here in Biggs's office. That's where we're shooting this special report. Again, we just shoot different reports around the office to give viewers a full spectrum view and transparency of what we do here. David Knight, what's your angle on this?
Well, Alex, there's been a lot of competition, of course, for quite some time between Erdogan and Fethullah Gulen. Both of them have been supported by the CIA and our government to various degrees. Fethullah Gulen was run out of his country in that power struggle. He came to America, brought in as a guest by the CIA. A lot of people said this guy is a terrorist. We need to not allow him in the country, and yet there were people within the CIA, high officers in our government, wrote letters to keep him in here. He's now in Pennsylvania. We've talked in the past about...
He has billions in foundation money.
Yes. They control over $150 billion worldwide, they say the organization does. They have 1,000 schools throughout the world. We've talked about how the charter schools here in America, just here in Texas, he's got about 40 Fethullah Gulen schools, and he gets about $500 million of taxpayer money here as charter schools. Now, there's a competition between Fethullah Gulen, who is essentially in exile, and Erdogan, who is currently the president in Turkey. And a few months ago, the Erdogan government hired a lawyer to come after Fethullah Gulen for racketeering and corruption and that sort of thing here in America. Now, what's happened in the last couple of days, just back on July 12th, they did a mass arrest of officers, teachers, and others. This is from the Daily Sabah and other sources, Turkish sources. There was a mass movement against the Fethullah Gulen sources. And understand, he's got a lot of people who are in the official bureaucracy, in the police force, in the military.
That is, in fact, what Erdogan, the current quasi-dictator of a fake election, has said. They're trying to overthrow the government. So are you kind of predicting here? I think that sounds pretty accurate. And we don't know yet that this could be their counterstrike back against the government trying to roll up their network.
That's what it appears to be, because there was a massive move by the Erdogan forces against Fethullah Gulen within the last several days. They rounded up these officers, teachers, bureaucrats. They said they brought the main trial. There's been a lot of different trials, but they said the first collective day of an indictment against the Gülenist terrorist organization, as they put it in Turkey. This has been they said there's been multiple trials, investigations, but this is a major case. They'll pull together all the crimes in which the group stands accused of. Okay, so that was about to start. So all this stuff, that massive roundup of people, massive trial about to start, and now we learned that there is a military coup there. So that's all we know at this point.
This is happening right now. 23 minutes ago, the Turkish Prime Minister claimed that a military coup was underway. And internet and Ankara has been shut out. There's no social media. And now 5 seconds ago, this just got updated. Turkish military says it is now taken over. And down here, there's a video of soldiers walking up and down the street telling citizens the Turkish military has taken over, go home. So they've now installed a curfew. Martial law is underway in Turkey.
And the question is, who is behind this? YouTube, Google, it's all shut off into Turkey, showing that internet kill switches are real. They've put them in here. We're seeing more and more censorship, and there's all these Islamists are always battling with each other over control. It's a conquest economy, not a Renaissance boom economy. And now here in the West, the Renaissance economy, we are bringing in the conquest economy, not the innovation economy. And it's like once their subterfuge starts, folks, I mean, the Arabs will tell you. I mean, it's all about backstabbing. It's all about BS. This is very dishonorable, and we just do not need this here, whether it's the network, the schools, and this guy with $140 billion, or whether it's Erdogan. I mean, look, folks, Turkey is the last big country in Europe to fall to the Muslims. We don't need to bring it into the euro. The point is they want conquest. It's not that I'm against the Muslims. I'm not against the rattlesnake. It's just it wants to bite me. And so, no, sorry. You're not open. You're not a free society. No, we're done. You want to convert to free market? Fine, come in. You want to run around and tell us we're bags over our head? Ain't happening.
I would add to it, Alex, as you mentioned Europe and Turkey's position in that in the euro. Remember that just before Brexit, we had David Cameron doing question and answer, and he said, UKIP is putting around these posters about Brexit saying these things about how much money we're sending to them and that they want to bring in Turkey into the European Union. And he goes, it isn't going to happen on my watch. He goes, I think they're at least 30 years out from this. And yet he's said over and over again, he would love to see Turkey come into the European Union.
Well, they've already brought it in. They got the border open, letting them bring them in, and Merkel's saying bring them.
Yeah.
Back to Infowars Nightly News. Oh, look at this. What do we got here?
Right here you have planes or helicopters shooting from the sky.
Wow.
You can hear these explosions. Look at that one more time. It'll come from right over here.
All right, more on Infowars Nightly News tonight. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this transmission and you're awake, reach out to the other zombies. Let them know there's an attempt to shut down free speech here in America as well. There's a wave of tyranny happening worldwide. It's time to stand up against it and resist it. There is an attack on the human institution of family. And if you want to take down the nuclear family, you attack males. Males are the defender of the human tribe. When men fall, the rest of humanity can be completely enslaved. The attack on the family is in movies, sitcoms, dramas. This isn't to empower women. This is to wreck civilization. For too long, we have been allowing the globalist controllers to launch a full-scale chemical war on our masculinity. You've seen the headlines, the estrogen mimickers and the gender-bending compounds in the food and water supply. are changing the way our bodies work. And men are the #1 target of this program. With the estrogen mimickers in the plastics, in the printer paper, and in thousands of other items, it's on record. Our testosterone level, many times by the time we hit 40, is 80% lower than it should be or more. Our sperm counts, depending on which Western country you look at, are 80 to almost 96% reduced. Fertility is plummeting through the floor. Now, it's impossible, even if you're a health nut, to avoid all of this. But for myself personally, what I've experienced with the products at InfoWarsLife.com has been simply amazing. Super Male Vitality has changed my life in the last 3 years. That's why we wanted to develop something that works in conjunction with Super Male to take it to the next level. It's only been out for about 6 months. It sold out so quickly in its first run, and now it is back after months of not being available. Anthroplex. The reason we sell out when other big vitamin and mineral and nutraceutical makers don't is because we only source the purest, cleanest, high quality organic products. And it's really hard when you've got a formulation that's got a bunch of really great ingredients in it to get them and to always have them be perfectly clean and to be able to pass some of the highest standards in the world. When you go to InfoWarsLife.com, you can see that for yourself and find out why Anthroplex, taken by itself or in conjunction with Super Male Vitality, is such a game changer. This is the next level, and I am so proud that we were able to bring a product like this to you. This is how men were supposed to feel. Quite frankly, I remember what it felt like to be 18 or 19 or 20, to be crazed, to be aggressive, to feel just exhilaration. And it's the Super Male Vitality and the Anthroplex with exercise and a better diet that have taken me back to where I was and quite frankly beyond. It's amazing. And Anthroplex is now back in stock at InfoWarsLife.com. Men, do yourself a favor and get a bottle of Anthroplex today and see what I'm talking about. All of our products at InfoWarsLife.com are recognized as safe, and they are made in FDA certified labs. The media tries to demonize supplements because, quite frankly, Mother Nature's got a lot to offer that Big Pharma doesn't. But there are some bad companies out there, and there are some substances that Mother Nature produces that aren't good for you. That's why everything we put in these products is recognized as safe and produced at the highest level, highest quality FDA certified labs. Talk to your physician or healthcare provider before you take Anthroplex or any of the products at InfoWarsLife.com like X2, because this stuff's real. Just one of the ingredients in Anthroplex is horny goatweed. In Chinese traditional medicine, it is recognized as one of the most powerful male stimulants, not just of libido, but overall vitality. We put together a classic formula, souped up with the highest quality at a very low price, available at InfoWarsLife.com today.